Welcome to part 2 of the TnT tackle test on the Dave Barham Db2. We'll go through the general information of the rod now. The Dave Barham Signature Series Beach Caster Db2. 13'8" in length with an optimum casting weight of 4 to 8 ounce. Lightweight oxide guides and comes with a nice compact rod bag to look after the rod. So as you saw in episode 1 when myself and Craig Pope headed up to the rocks on North Devon, we basically had small congers and dogfish, nothing to shout about, nothing big. Having said that, we were very high up fishing off a ledge, and to be fair, the rods handled it very well. We took in turns, obviously we're fishing our other rods at the time, took in turns using the rod. Craig actually went up to high ground to put one out a distance with it, and he was very surprised of the outcome. Seemed to handle the cast very well, and for the money, it looks a decent rod, to be fair. We're down here on the Tall Bay Rocks today. Richard L. Bones down here, newest team member. I'd like to welcome you to the team, buddy.
Cheers, mate.
Known you a little while now, but Rich has joined the team to specifically specialise in rough ground fishing. Now, you've done it many years now, mate.
Yeah.
How many years have you been doing it?
Oh, since I was knee high, really. But
yeah?
Seriously, since I was a teenager, I always said. Yeah.
Growing up around the Dartmouth area?
Yeah, sort of Dartmouth, South Hams, Rock Marks, and you know, all around that.
How old were you
really.
when you first started fishing then?
Oh, 5 in a pushchair, 4 or 5 in a pushchair, I think. Yeah.
Off the side of the piers and that.
Down Mill Bay Docks with my old man.
Yeah,
I could wind in a fish before I could walk, I think.
I loved it. Also worked in the tackle shop for a little while when you were growing up.
I worked for about 5 years in a tackle shop down in Dartmouth, so learn a lot in that time. And
meet a lot of people in that.
Yeah, and really sort of get the passion for the sport, to be honest.
Your passion lies in rough ground fishing though, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah, without a doubt, mate. Without a doubt, yeah. Yeah, it's rough ground fishing all the way for me.
What species more than anything?
It's congers and huss. Yeah, to be honest, I like chasing the eels, and the huss is just a bycatch really. So, although I seem to be doing better on the huss specimen wise than the eels, but
you've had huss up to
just shy of 15. Yeah, just shy of 15.
Very fantastic fish. We're going to be doing a sea angling adventures article for Sea Angler magazine very soon. With one of our recent trips, where we went down to one of his marks and. I've done very well indeed.
You did, yeah, you did really well, mate.
2 doubles out this
Put me to shame that day, mate. Yeah.
I don't know if it was anything different because we were both doing the same. It just happened to be a different area, really, didn't we?
Yeah,
you were going to the right and I was going to the left.
Yeah, I think I was probably fishing in a bit closer because I know that's where the eels sort of lie a bit. But
you were using a lot bigger baits as well.
Yeah,
where
much
I was
bigger
using
baits.
The scad.
Yeah,
you were using the whole mackerel.
Yeah,
and the scad seemed to be doing it as well. Those
the scad were fresh
scad seemed to be doing it on the
cracking
evening.
bait for the huss is fresh scad. Probably my
£10
favourite.
and £11. I was over the moon. I've been looking for that 100% fish for the last few weeks now, and bang, it was right in there. So made up. But eels then, you've had the eels up to?
Oh, well, eels up to just above 40. Lost a lot bigger. Yeah. Lost an awful lot bigger. Lost a lot smaller ones as well, but yeah, some real wrenches.
Real big fish. I've, to be honest, rough ground fishing is not something I've really done a lot of. I have obviously done it here and there, the eeling. I enjoy doing the eeling. Hussing, I've had a lot of huss bycatching when ray fishing really. And most of the huss I've had has always been out at distance on £20 line on a single sand deal. And half the time it's that last little bit is landing them, because half the time they do come off the hook, especially if you're using the big wide hooks. I do find if you've got a Chinook and the Chinook gets it, like when we were down with Rob York fishing for rays, and I had that 9/8 huss the other month, and it sort of like got the right back in the back of its mouth, like, and I found that with obviously the big sides you can really get them out because you're of the rigs you're about to see.
Yeah, I think the key with them as well is hitting them quite early, to be honest. Obviously you don't want to deep hook fish with the size hooks that I'm using. You know, it's 8 O's all the way as a minimum really, so the huss, the mouths are more than big enough to take a hook that size. You just want to catch them early, so
we're using 4 mackerel baits and 1 single 8/0 meat hook from Cox and Raw, and you've always used the meat hooks, have you?
Yeah, to be honest, I've been through just about every hook there is going really. Just trial and error, you know, finding what you're happy with. I think tackle choice is quite a personal thing to a lot of anglers, and
finding the right keys for the job. And I did put it on there last night on the Facebook page that a lot of rough ground fishing can be very expensive at times, can it?
Oh, horrifically expensive. Yeah.
But you're going to show a way to the viewers how to make it that much cheaper and still have great success and use quality gear.
Essentially what I'm looking to do, and what I've sort of developed over the time doing it, is getting the right tools for the job, but as cost effectively as possible, minimise the snags, minimise the lost gear, minimise the lost fish.
We're using £40 line or £50 line you use as well.
Yeah, 60 sometimes if I'm on
you're obviously tying that straight onto your rig, so if anything's going, half the time it's your main line was going to break. It's not going to be your rig, is it?
Yeah, it's always the main line that will go. Obviously rotten bottom is absolutely paramount importance. The sort of ground eye fish, you just have to accept the fact that you're going to lose a lot of lead. Similarly, I know a lot of guys like using pulleys, things like that. I'll go through a little bit of why I personally don't like to use them. It's not just the cost thing, as much as anything. It's about keeping the rig as simple as possible, making sure the fish feels as little resistance as possible, can run freely, but also not snag up and get snarled up in, you know, long rigs, lots of line and bits and pieces like that. But
I was quite surprised the other night, because as we're about to see, you use it quite short.
Yeah, very short. Yeah.
The reason for that is?
Essentially, the main reason is I try and keep it all in one sort of little neat, compact sort of bit on the floor. You know, if you've got a long 3-foot flowing trace, you know, your lead ends up in one place, your trace goes the other side. You've lost that fish already. You know, it's if you keep it all short and tight.
I've actually found on the venue we're fishing today, as we've done a video with the other month for the magazine. I've always found pulley rigs work better for some reason. I don't know why, and we're not going to fish that way tonight. We're going to be fishing the way with Rich's rigs.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, there's, you know, some marks you have to use a pulley rig, and I'm a big fan of the pulley rig. What I find with these fish, certainly the eels, is very often they like to pick up the bait and take off with it. If they feel any resistance, they're very quick to drop that bait.
I just find it with, especially if you're fishing in closer, I don't think it matters, but if you're fishing out 70 yards and beyond, you're fishing over big ledges, so when you're bringing it in, I've just found before I've lost fish using a running ledge just for the facts where I'm not sure why. I think the pulley rig obviously got the weight there as well, and when it's tension constantly on the fish.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, a mark like this, in fairness, you know, a pulley rig may well have its merits, but for me, I've had so many fish on a pulley rig that they've picked it up, tried to go, they've felt that resistance. To be fair, the pulley reaches its end.
The ground you're used to as well is a lot rougher than this.
Oh yeah,
this is like mixed ground really.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, so some of the stuff I'm fishing on, you know, you never expect to see a lead back. Very often you don't get a rig back, but certainly you don't expect.
I was quite surprised because when we were fishing the other day, as we're about to see now, you're using £20 amnesia as your
rotten bottom.
Bottom, which I normally use 12 to 15, and obviously £20 it doesn't. It's quite hard to break.
But I'm on £50-60 mainline, mate.
So I'm using a 40. So
yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, with a big eel on the end, or even a big huss, you know, I never feel that rotten bottom go if I've got a fish on. You know, it's just gone when you get back.
Away,
so you know, with 20 you do get the odd lead back. It just helps, you know, a bit
it
of
helps
that
maintain your leads,
resistance.
because even when I was, as you saw when we were fishing down there, I was literally putting the SU down and pulling the SU back, and it was pulling straight up the snags every time.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is another good thing. Where here you can't do that.
No.
You try and do that here and just.
I think you should fish a pulley. I'll fish my way and see.
No, well, I'm quite happy. Obviously, we come down here to do the rig today, so we're going to fish the way Rich fishes, and also I'm using the Dave Barham Signature Series DB2. We're going to be doing a tackle test on that, and I've literally come down here now. I was hoping to come down a little bit earlier and do some casting and that. However, we're going to get on with this today, and I'll use it the weekends. But so let's have a go at some fishing. Let's see some rigs then, Rich.
Yeah, no worries. Let's get on. So we're down here using baits this kind of size at the moment. Mackerel's typically the bait of choice. Scad, mullet. Garfish do tend to take some eels as well. I've had some success on that in the past. Obviously, when we're using baits this size, hook placement is of the paramount importance, which I'll show you a bit later on when we go on to baiting up a rig. But initially what I'm going to show you now is how I make my rigs, and why I think they're ideal for this type of fishing. Right, so I'm going to show you how I set up my rigs. The key, as I keep saying, is to keep it absolutely simple. You may think this looks like nothing special, but I can assure you it's taken me a long time to develop this and get happy with it. Essentially, quality components is the most important part to this. Wire, this is £150 black nylon coated wire.
Don't ask me why the black, I just like it, personal preference. Swivels, good quality. These are Cox and Roll, good quality, high breaking strain swivels, absolute must. I've seen swivels snap before in snags and on eels, so these are the stainless steel crane swivels from Cox and Roll. When you're going with the stainless steel, you can afford to go a little bit smaller because it's a hell of a lot stronger. So these break at 310. That's more than enough for what I'm looking for, and also with it being slightly smaller, less likely to get hung up behind rocks and in snags. Moving on to the hooks, Cox and Roll meat hook. Again, I've messed around with a lot of hooks over the years. These don't bend. You really have to put some pressure through them to bend. I've had big 8/0 hooks snap in the past as well. The most important thing for me with these is they keep their edge really well. One thing I talked about with Andy last time we were out fishing together was how important it is after every single cast, when you retrieve, to check your hook, check it's nice and sharp. If it's not sharp, resharpen it. These keep their edge really, really well. They still do need touching up, but not as much as some of the others. And then with the 150 pound wire, I'm using 8mm length, 2.4mm diameter rig sleeves crimps. Now, another important thing to mention when I'm doing this is a lot of people will know that crimps do have a tendency to pull. This is something that I've experienced in the past, which isn't helpful, obviously. I double crimp everything. Finally, I use black heat shrink tubing, electrical black heat shrink. This goes over the crimps, which you'll see in a moment. What this does is stops your bait elastic getting all snarled up in the crimps, getting caught on the tag end of your wire. So first things first, 2 crimp sleeves onto your wire, like so. Power swivel, so you pass it through the eye. Now what we're looking to do here is leave a bit of a loop to leave some room for the swivel to hinge freely and to move as freely as we can. So we want to slide the crimp sleeves on and then leave a loop in the wire with the crimp sleeves just a few millimeters apart. Now these are a very important tool. These are electrical crimping pliers. I find these make all the difference in ensuring that that crimp holds and that they stay. These are fairly readily available at any electrical wholesalers, DIY shop. They're not very expensive. I couldn't recommend getting a pair enough. So we just crimp. There's different size settings on these. The second one back for this size, but obviously check your own. After we've crimped once, I then turn it to 90 degrees and crimp the tag end back in again. That puts it into a nice, perfect little uniform square, almost, I'd say. And then with the second, twist it again 90 degrees. That's your swivel attached. Heat shrink down the line, down the wire. We'll get back to that in a minute. Second piece of heat shrink. This will go over your hook, where your hook attaches. 2 crimp sleeves again. And again, Cox and Roll 8/0 meat hook. And same with the swivel end. We need room for that to be able to move freely on the line. Similar again. And finally, with a cigarette lighter, you can use the steam off a kettle for this as well. I know a lot of guys do that. We just shrink the heat shrink down. Wind's not helping me. As you can see, we're out on the rocks. Just get a good coverage all over. Well, I don't think that's going to work. That's trying to film out in the in the wilds for you, actually on location at a mark, but you get the idea with that. Essentially the heat shrink comes down. What that prevents is where you've got your little tag of the wire, I always leave a small tag of wire out in case they do start to pull. That just prevents anything getting caught in there, your bait elastic, maybe your rotten bottom if you're using a slightly longer one, stops it getting caught in there. 12 inches in total when finished, maybe a little bit more. What I tend to do is I make these up in sort of 25s, 50s at a time. So I cut everything to set lengths, all of the heat shrink, the wire, get everything out ready and get a little production line going on. And that's my rig. I know a lot of guys like to use pennels. To my mind, that's just the second hook to get stuck in a snag. In case you haven't noticed, I really don't like getting stuck in snags. So I don't miss many fish on this. I certainly don't lose many fish on this. And that's the rig that I'm confident using.